In this session, we'll be diving into the common mistakes RTOs make with assessments that often trigger audit findings. We'll cover topics including weak assessment tools, errors in assessor judgment, and practical steps to strengthen your audit readiness. We're thrilled to have our expert speakers today. Ben Thakkar, CEO of Vet Resources, brings over 15 years of experience in compliance and has supported countless RTOs across Australia. Amandeep Kaur, our resource expert, comes with a decade of experience and has helped thousands of RTOs with resources and more. If you need contextualized RTO standards-mapped resources, don't hesitate to contact us at 1-800-959-958 or visit our website at www.vetresources.com. Welcome to our monthly webinar by Vet Resources. We're excited to have you with us today. In this session, we'll be diving into the common mistakes RTOs make with assessments that often trigger audit findings. We'll cover topics including weak assessment tools, errors in assessor judgment, and practical steps to strengthen your audit readiness. We're thrilled to have our expert speakers today. Ben Thakkar, CEO of Vet Resources, brings over 15 years of experience in compliance and has supported countless RTOs across Australia. Amandeep Kaur, our resource expert, comes with a decade of experience and has helped thousands of RTOs with resources and more. If you need contextualized RTO standards-mapped resources, don't hesitate to contact us at 1-800-959-958 or visit our website at www.vetresources.com.au. We provide a variety of services, including RPL kits, learning and assessment tools, LL&D kits, and much more. If you're looking for any of these, feel free to reach out to us. Thank you for joining us today. The webinar will be starting very soon.
Good morning, everyone. How are you all? I can see so many people are still joining. Oh, we are right now on 101 people. I'll still wait for a few more seconds. So I'll allow everybody to join in. And by the time everybody's joining, I would say, please, you can turn on your camera, say hello. You can show your lovely faces to us. Good morning, good morning. Perfect. A very warm welcome to all of you, and thank you who are already joining and who will be joining soon within few minutes or so. I am Mahi, and it is my absolute pleasure to welcome you all on behalf of Vet Resources and Vet Advisory Group. We are really pleased to have you all with us on today's webinar, a common assessment mistake that triggers audit finding, an area that continues to be a key compliance focus for RTOs, particularly with increasing expectations around assessment quality and evidence standards. And today we are joined by two experienced professionals in vet sector, Mr. Ben Thakkar, a CEO of Vet Resources, Vet Advisory Group, and Stanford Institute of Technology. Ben is a compliance expert and a vet expert with over 15 years of experience supporting thousands of RTOs across Australia. He brings deep practical insight into audit readiness, compliance improvement, and sustainable growth for RTOs. And joining him today is Amandeep Kaur, an experienced assessment expert and resource manager at Vet Resources with over 10 years of experience supporting RTOs across Australia. She has validated over thousands of assessments, and she is a recognized compliance specialist who has successfully assisted hundreds of RTOs in resolving compliance challenges and strengthening their assessment practices. And before we dive in, before we start officially, I would like to inform you about quick housekeeping notes. Your microphone will be muted throughout the session. If you have any question, feel free to jot them down on the chat box and we will address them at the end of the webinar. And also, if you have any technical issues, feel free to put them on the chat box as well. We will, and our team will help you out for that as well. And last thing I need to mention you guys as well, that you will receive the presentation slide and the recording of this webinar after the webinar. So please keep an eye on your inbox, including your spam folders. Sometimes it lands there. And also you will be receiving your professional development certificate after the 72 hours of the webinar. So keep an eye on your inbox, and before further ado, all right, let's get started. I'll now hand over to Ben Thakkar, who will set the context and walk us through a key assessment risk and a compliance insight. So over to you, Ben.
Thank you, Mahi. I'm honored to be part of this session today. I'm very excited and pumped to discuss about the one of the most hot topic in vet sector about the assessment. So, and that's a very critical part of it. And you guys are investing your 90 minutes, and me and my team have made up this session very practical. So in this 90-minute, you're not going only about the theory part, but we're going to discuss the practically how your RTO can improve the assessment system, because that's number one cause in vet sector about the RTO having issue with assessment. So that's our goal. So give you some practical tool tips insight so you can take it from here, implement to your RTO, and you add more value to the vet sector. So let's get started. Let me share my screen. Okay, let's see. You able to see the screen? Is that thumbs up? Able to see? Okay, perfect. Okay, so today's agenda, why assessment mistakes keep repeating and why that matters to your RTO. And I was attending a session, ASQA session in Melbourne, I think 2 days before. That was one of the top things that they were discussing about it, that academic integrity and the assessment is still top number one issues that they seeing across the board. And I was thinking about that. Oh, after 2 days, I'm going to discuss the same topic and how good is the time is, and address this thing. And this time, when I was doing a research about this topic, I have come up from some different angle. Like uh, I was going back to 5 years, 10 years back of assessment non-compliances, and I was finding a pattern, like something is happening every single year. And I was thinking like, oh, maybe we need to discuss what the root cause behind it, because if something happened every single year, then something that we not doing it right, something that need to be improved. And that's my goal for the session today is we're not going to only discuss about the legislation. We'll discuss about the root cause of the problem, and taking into different angle that you might have never hear about it. And then we'll discuss about the solution. What ASQA actually expect from the standard 1.3 and 1.4. The three root cause behind the most audit finding, been part of more than 250 plus audit or more. What we're seeing when there is a non-compliance is related to assessment. And as you probably know that if the assessment is non-compliant, it leads to a lot of other area. And this is a number one cause of RTO who get the sanction or closure. How to spot the problem in your tool, the trainer and the system. How AI and authenticity concerns are changing the assessments. And that's one of the area that ASQA is currently focusing, even in the webinar series as well, that they are creating the AI principles and they want RTO to understand all those things and prepare the system and processes that how you're going to tackle those changes in the industry. What happened when ASQA finds a gap? What are the statistics around that? The practical fix, the simple step you can start using immediately. And the free resources. So we have quite a few resources, 3 or 4 different types, which will help you in your RTO from day one. And those resources we are using for our clients. So it's a valuable resources. If you're able to use for your RTO, it will definitely benefit you. So let's get started. Before we start, this is the thing I'm showing you the last 4-year data, but I think if you are longer enough in the industry, even more than 4 or 5 years, you will see the pattern is the same. And if you are from the industry more than 4 or 5 years, I would love to hear about your thought of non-compliance in the assessment system. So you see, 21, 22, almost 72% RTO were non-compliant. 22, 23, again the 74. 23, 24, 74. And 24, 25, 78. So what you're seeing here is a consistent pattern. And across that assessment area is around 70+% mark getting non-compliant. So it's a systematic pattern. And when I was doing it, as I said, I was doing it, checking out, preparing for this session, I was like, yeah, even I go back to more before 4 years, even let's say 6 year, 8 year, 10 years. And I was seeing as it's probably the same story across the board. And who can connect with me in this situation? Who is longer enough? I would love to hear your thoughts in the chat if you can. Let's see if anyone is adding this. Maybe it's like a Friday, we all need a warming up. Maybe we need a coffee, or maybe we need to do a bit of hand movement or dance. Okay. So if you see, this is consistent pattern. And what I was reviewing, I was like, okay, if it's consistent pattern, why this is happening? Why, if that is ASQA is clear about it, they're giving a lot of information, RTOs knows about the legislation, then why this is this consistent pattern? And that uncovers the more thing, and which I'm going to discuss about it. Based on my experience, we find out there are some root cause. And if you fix those major root cause, it's very likely that the assessment system going to be better. On top of it, you see in the last year, there's more than 3,000 plus TFOP been received. And I was been part of this ASQA session, and they were saying that, oh, the TFOP is actually very fruitful. They actually leading to investigation. And what they're saying that ASQA is checking each and every tip-off. Even if somebody disclose their name and detail, they actually contact that people, get more detail as well. So every tip-off been investigated and reviewed. 2.6 million plus fine been issued across the sector. 42,000 plus qualification cancelled. This number been given 2 days ago by ASQA, that's the recent number. And it's going to go more and more. So you see, if the assessment system fails, that means the certificate being issued by the RTO does not have a integrity in that. And therefore, when ASQA or anyone identifying it, now they're taking an action that if the student haven't done all those things, then we're going to cancel all the certificate. Training and assessment constantly the most cited non-compliance area. As I told you, that's the one of the number one top. And that's the reason behind it, because it's a very heavy thing to do. It's not a single thing that, okay, if you do this, it will be right. There are many layers to the training and assessment, and which we're going to discuss the step-by-step process. What are those layers and how we're going to fix them? 4 years, same pattern, same result. This is not a bad luck. This is a structural problem, how the RTO manage the assessment. And today we are going to name it, understand it, and fix it. So let's have a quick poll. How confident are you with your current assessment system? And I want you to type wherever you think your RTO is. Sorry, I'll go back. And just want to see the output here. And this helped me as well to even contextualize this session and give you more in depth based on the answer. Okay, so let's say we currently 38 response. Thank you, guys. The more response we get is always, give us the idea and also help us to, plan for the future webinars. And also it help us to identify what are the resources that you guys needed. And we always, look forward to prepare more resources for you guys that helps you. So I would strongly encourage that if you do this poll, it will help all of us to be better and we see the gaps and then we work towards the improvement. Okay, so we got the response here. Mostly confident, minor gap that I don't know about, 47%. Somewhat confidence area I'm not sure about. I think those two are the major one, and that's what we're seeing majority across the time in that area. So thank you guys for that. So before we move ahead with the problem, let's understand the legislation. Let's see what legislation is saying. Before we look, so standard 1.3, that's a new SRTOs 2025 outcome standard 1.3 quality area 1. They say every assessment tool must be reviewed before use. Okay, so before use means, let's say you have a delivery after 2 weeks. So before that delivery, you need to, or RTO need to have a process in place that we have reviewed our tools. And it says the tool, but I strongly recommend you review the learner resources as well as part of it. Identify if there any gap, contextualize the tool, because if not meeting with your cohort or requirement, keep those evidence. And before that your delivery happen, your tool is corrected and ready to use. So that's something we need to, and it need to be shown in the audit as well. And we're going to give the free resources that how for the template that you can able to use it here. Must be appropriate for the training product, cohort, delivery mode, and workplace context. So as I say, it should meet the training package requirement. It should meet your cohort requirement because different cohort has different needs. And you need to see that, okay, for example, if one cohort says we need to do everything in simulation, the other cohort say we pretty much working in the industry, so they're gonna to do it in a workplace. So how, even if you buy a third-party tool, you need to check that is that aligned with my cohort. And if it's not aligned with your cohort, we need to update it. Delivery mode, as a different delivery mode might have a different things. Maybe online slightly different, traineeship, apprenticeship slightly different, international mode slightly different. So you need to check those things and update that. A document with pre-use review must be on the file. As I said, you need to keep the evidence in your database. When regulator come for audit, they might ask for, okay, show me how you do your pre-use or pre-validation. And then they might pick random 2, 3, 4 unit. And they say, okay, now show me the evidence. How do you do it? What are the tool was it? What improvement you have done? So that's 1.3 that every RTO must do. I know a lot of RTO because we've been doing a good amount of internal audit, talking to our clients and things. They do the process. They say, oh yeah, we have done this. But when you open the document, it's just tick and flick. So the tick and flick approach will not work because it will be exposed in the audit. The question they ask that, okay, did you review it? What improvement you be identified and how did you improve the tool? Because they're also going to check the particular unit. And if there is a gap still there, that means the pre-use of pre-validation is not conducted correctly. And like I said, you need to set the time with your team. If you don't know how to do it, get external advice and support. Make sure your team understand what needs to be done. Because if they don't know what to be done, then even though you're doing 100 unit pre-validation, it's not going to be useful. And that was, I give you one example. We were doing an internal audit. They did pretty much 40 units pre-validation. And when we check, there was no useful. So they were spending time, the things was not even right. So that's something which I want to encourage all of you to do things properly. Principle of assessment, rules of evidence. Assessment must be fair, flexible, valid, and reliable. I'll explain in the new slide in more detail. The student evidence must be valid, sufficient, authentic, and current. So the standard 1.4, we've broken down simple 4 principle of assessment, how we conduct the assessment. So the principle of assessment is majorly how your tool is about. It says fair. Consider the individual need of the student. That's number 1. Allow reasonable adjustment without changing the unit outcome. So that is the important part. There was one example that RTOs doing a reasonable adjustment where there is a verbal assessment required and say student cannot speak properly. So if the unit is required that they need to a verbal requirement, then that reasonable adjustment will not work. So make sure we do not compromise the requirement of the unit, and then we need to do reasonable adjustment. Sorry, let's go to the next. Give the student opportunity to be reassessed if needed. I think pretty much most of the RTO and assessment system I have seen, they do this. Do not disadvantage anyone based on their background, disability, or any circumstances. So that is about the fairness. So what you guys need to ask yourself, is my tool is fair? Is my system is fair? And if they meet all those 4 criteria, you able to say that. Flexible. They say appropriate to the context, the training product, and the learner. So whatever the context, as I was talking about the cohort. Cohort means the learner. Is they aligned with the cohort? Is it aligned with the training product? That's what we need to check in the flexibility. Recognize the skill, however, wherever they are gained, including prior experience. So this standard 1.4, not only in the assessment, it also applies to the RPL as well, because it's part of the assessment. Does not force one-size-fits-all approach on diverse learner. Again, we can't say that that's only one way to address this, where there is a learner need is diverse. For example, I was saying about it that the practical task can be done in the simulation, but depend on the learner cohort and stuff, it can be done in the workplace as well. So it's always based on the learner need, and do not rely on one size fit all. Valid. The assessment method actually measure what unit require. So here again, we need to make sure that the training package requirement, including the knowledge evidence, performance criteria, performance evidence, assessment condition, all those things is being mapped and aligned correctly. Include the practical application component where the unit calls for them. And this is something is in the new standard. They added that the practical application needs to be there wherever it's unit mentioned. And that's what we see sometime in the assessment is there is some practical application, but the information or instruction in the application is not enough. For example, if they're doing a role play, then the role is not defined clearly. When someone read it, they does not have a clear idea what need to be done. So those are the things that needs to be done. And if there is any gap in that, then you will see the non-compliance say, oh, your assessment tool is not valid. Not just theory question when real skill demonstration is required. So not now, I think a year or two ago, there was one instant I was seeing that the client were using cluster unit, 5 unit in one cluster, and they were mapping one question across to all 5, and the question was very broad. It not even covering those criteria being mapped to, and majorly focusing on the theory question where the criteria was actually guiding toward more practical side. So make sure you need to check all those things. If the criteria is more practical and do performance, then the theory it's not sufficient. Reliable. Produce consistent outcome regardless of which assessor conduct the assessment. Produce consistent outcome regardless of when and where it is conducted. So regardless of which assessor conduct, which location and when. So I'll give you an example. If RTO has 3 locations, let's say one in Melbourne, Sydney, Adelaide, irrespective of the location, and there's a different trainer. If I give the same piece of document to all the different trainer, they should come up with the same judgment. And that's what it says, the reliability. And that the reliability comes from a clear instruction to the trainer and to the student. If I have clearly articulate what I'm going to observe, what I'm going to check, then it brings the reliability in the tool. Now, 2 different assessors should reach to the same decision at the same time. So I'll have a quick question. Out of these 4 principal assessment, what do you think is the challenging one to tackle? Let's see in the chat what do you guys think about it. So I can say Matthew, thank you, Matthew. So reliable. I think I can see the Charlene, validity, Lucas, thank you. I think reliability, validity are the 2 major one coming up. Thank you guys for putting the message. I think I really appreciate, because this way we can make this more interactive. And I just want to make sure that you don't sleep, because this topic is, it's not an easy topic. Not everybody is a fun topic to discuss about it. So I really appreciate that. Reliable. I think reliable and validity. I think you guys are spot on. The reliability is across the board. It's very challenging. And the validity is also these 2 main area in the principle of assessment. Even though the people who knows the thing, when it comes to the practice, is actually the hard part to tackle. So I'm with you guys. Thank you, everyone. The rules of evidence now. What the student work must show. So now, principle of assessment is more about the tool side. The rules of evidence is more about the work, the student evidence side that we need to look at it. Valid evidence is directly relevant to the unit requirement, not vaguely related. So if, for example, if the assessment tool is saying that I need to do the meeting and do the work health and safety check and complete this template, and it template has 5 different requirements, then the student need to provide the evidence or information relevant to that. If the evidence is not relevant to the topic, and which we see sometimes, the question is something else and answer is something else by the student. Or maybe the question or information is asking 3 points, and the student might have covered 1 or 2 and they miss the 3rd one. So in that case, it creates the validity issue. Then it also comes to the sufficiency part, that enough quality and quantity for the assessor to make confident, informed judgment. So that prompts me one more question. What's your thought about the quality in the assessment? If you can put it in a chat, what do you think is the quality of the evidence looks like? In the meantime, I'll have a sip of water. You can have it to stay hydrated. Okay, let's see if anyone wants to add it. What makes the quality evidence? So we got 100, 219 people. I think few of them I count as a vote, maybe 40, 50. That it demonstrate the competency against each requirement. Great. I think I got RTO manager. Yeah, perfect. Anything else anyone else wants to add? Let's make it more interactive. Square quality assurance checklist. Leonie, a range of evidence gathered over time. Great. Matches unit of competency requirement of ASQA. Matthew. Great. So you see the meeting training package requirement, range of evidence. Yeah, there's no poll for this. This question come in my mind, so I asked it. So quality of evidence is, if it's saying that you need to write 5 communication strategy and explain them why that is important, I need to have those 5 communication strategy and write down the importance of it. So the quality means if question is asking me something, then the evidence or answer that I'm providing is actually related to the question. I have seen, or we have seen many times when we check audit time, the question is saying something else and the student answer saying something else, and sometimes assessor pass through as well. How many of you with me in this? So we have we are seeing this very, very common. So the quality means it actually assess what is providing the evidence, what is required. Not too much extra, not less. So if your tool is right, and if tool is saying, I need these 3 points, and if your answer is aligning with that, that's a quality. Also, the quality mention is that I am providing the current information, not 20 years before. So that comes to the quality. Now, let's discuss about the quantity. What do you think the quantity means? Let's wait for somebody to answer. That was good. I think I really great answer we're getting. Sufficient. Enough assessment to assess student. I got candidates RPL base for each element for unit of competency. Enough to demonstrate that they can do the task number of time without assistance, prompting. Quality means, quantity means amount of evidence. Great. I think I got a really, really good response. Thank you, guys. Quantity. Now, again, because we're not talking about the tool here, we're talking about the evidence of the student work. The quantity is, let's say if the task is saying you need to write, again, I'll come to the same communication, 5 communication strategy. And if I write 3, but the 3 all are quality one, is that okay? The answer is no, because it's asking for 5. The quantity is not matching. If I need to do, say, I need to do interview with 3 clients, and I'm doing with 2, what's going to happen? Still not meeting the requirement. If my assessment conditions say that this needs to be done in the simulation and the workplace. So that's where we need to see that how many times it's telling us to do it. We see sometimes tools that training packages saying that they need to do 3 times or 3 different projects. But when we're seeing in the tool, it might have 1 project only. So in that case, the tool is also a problem. And second, because then the evidence we only getting is for the 1 project. And therefore, it's not meeting the requirement. It's not sufficient. Great. So net says is complete 2 case study, demonstrate skill with a different client and situation. Completely agree. Authentic. I think this is the area. Authenticity. We're gonna have a lot more information from regulator as well. And this is the one of the hot topic currently. Authenticity of the student work. The assessor is confident that work is the student own genuine effort, not AI generated and plagiarized. How many of you because I'm talking to a lot of RTO, this is the hot area that currently everyone's talking about because a lot of students using AI tool to give the answer. So we, and now you know that ASQA is creating a framework on how to use AI, and they clearly articulating what can we use, what cannot be used for AI. They expect the RTO to have a system and processes on how they're going to manage the AI, what is the responsible use and what is they not going to use. And and that's why we are planning that maybe next session we talk about the AI and how your RTO going to implement all those strategies in. So what is valid use, what is not valid use with all the framework. We also working toward creating a documentation that you can give it to your staff, student, trainer to update them what to use. So this is what we're planning. We get enough interest, we will discuss about this in the whole different webinar about this. Current evidence reflect the student current skills and the knowledge, not outdated prior work. Give you an example. Let's say you are working in the industry, maybe in IT, for example. In IT, there was a unit which is about the software or coding. The evidence that been provided was 5 years before how the coding was work, the software that using, which is outdated in current situation. Do you think that will be okay? I just want you to say yes or no. So I want to see some more answer because you're not going to type more. So just yes or no. Great, great. Thank you all. Perfect. I can see all the no's. Everyone knows about it. So we all current. You all pass. Let's wrap up the session. Let's joke. So great. So what we just need to make sure that the evidence that we collecting or we getting from the student, including RPL, not only the assessment, including the RPL, it has to be current. And how do you, how do you make sure it's current or not? First of all, if you are a trainer and if you have a current industry skill, it's not a hard part to identify. But what are the main thing we can do? We can always check, is there changes in the practice or legislation around that industry? If you identify the changes in the industry, if there are any legislation change, practice change, software change, all those things been identified, then there has to be in that new software, new changes, new legislation. If I give you, if the student give evidence of which is the old thing, it's indirectly not current. And when in the audit we see, this evidence is not even a current. After that, there are 2 legislation being changed. So this is not gonna be a current evidence. Therefore, you are non-compliant in standard 1.4. Okay, so I hope you have a clear, simple idea on what are the legislative requirements, standard 1.3, 1.4 principle of assessment, rules of evidence. Because if we know in a simple and easy way, then there is a probability that we would be able to implement. And I'll tell you from my journey, when I started in 2009-10, first few years, I wasn't even know what the difference between the principle of assessment and rules of evidence. And I was like, even though I'm reading it, also still doesn't get it. So I was like, I need to understand first, and let's make it simple. So hopefully now you understand this, and I tried my best to make it as simple as possible so you can take it from here and implement it. So why does non-compliance keep happening? The law is clear. The sector knows the standard. Why 78% still non-compliant? Because there's the 3 major root cause that I see. And the most RT only aware of maybe 1 or 2. So the number 1 is the tool. we bought the tool, we don't build, not contextualized, not reviewed, not fit for purpose. And I'll discuss what fit for purpose means as well. So there are two major categories we get. Either we buy the resources from third party or we do it in-house. So yes, we can use third party resources, but ultimately it's a responsibility of the RTO to review that and make sure it's a fit for purpose. And wherever is required to be contextualized, we need to contextualize. And that's what ASQA is saying in the session as well, that yes, you can buy from third party, but ultimately you need to check. Don't just buy anyone say this resource is okay. Do your own due diligence. Even with the third party, we also sell the resources. But what I'm saying that sometimes don't use the unit sample that they give. Ask random unit. So that give you idea that is there a sample unit been prepared properly, or is there the process is actually across the board? Because you don't want the sample unit to be perfect and other unit is the problem. And also you work with the provider, even if you come up with some feedback, and if there is a genuine feedback, they're willing to work towards it. So yes, you can utilize this, but it's your responsibility to make sure it's aligned. Maybe let's say you have a 4 different provider and say, okay, one has a gap of 20%. The second one has gap of 30%. The third one has a gap of 5%. And fourth one has a gap of 45%. So based on your cohort and needs, so selecting the gap with 5% is a better option than selecting someone with a 45% gap. And that's what you need to make the difference. The trainer, it's not the trainer, it's just the system that, so no clarity on evidence required. So that's why I tell the system problem. It's not the human, it's a system that problem is. Because we never clarify what is actually clear, evidence required. What this RTO expect me in marking, how you want me to mark the observation checklist, what type of feedback you expect from the trainer. Because also there's another thing that when I speak to a lot of trainer, they say that we don't have enough time to mark. How many trainer here who agree with me? So yes, I got this one academic TM, 100%. I got Neha, RTO manager, yes, often. Kerry, Darren. So, and I am talking to a lot of trainer. I also talk to a lot of owner as well. So it's the RTO manager, RTO owner, and the trainer. They have their own story. They have own challenges. So there's no one to blame here. But what I always say that they all need to sit together and find the sweet spot. What we need to understand, if I'm an RTO owner, I need to understand that if this one area I don't look after, this is the number one area that can close your RTO, can cancel the certificates, can impact the most harm compared to anything else. So maybe I need to think smart that maybe the budget I'm allocating somewhere else on more, I need to focus on the top priority area. Same as if I'm an RTO manager, I said, okay, yes, I'm doing all the other compliance, but if I don't fix the assessment, ultimately the RTO gonna fail. So what my job as a compliance or anyone in the compliance area, I said, let's fix this first. Because if you have small issue in your enrollment or some small issue in your marketing or a bit here and there, it's not going to close down your RTO, or it's not going to give you a sanction, or it's not going to give you a qualification being canceled. But if this the problem here, it can. So what I'm just trying to say that I don't say you do lots of work. What I'm just saying is put your focus on what is more important. And once you've done the most important part, then you go to least important. So the high risk, medium risk, low risk. What I see sometimes that RTO do all the other stuff, forget about this one. And what I also see that sometimes genuinely trainer does not have a time for marking. So then you need to sit together with the trainer and find a solution that, okay, there is a budget challenges. How can we balance the situation? For more you talk with the trainer and align the system, it will works better for you. Because I'll tell you why the reason is what ASQA was saying in even the 2 days before, wherever they feel that there is a compromise in the assessment integrity and the system, that's where they are focusing more at this stage. They're doing a risk-based audit. If that due diligence identify there is some related to assessment integrity and the quality of education, that's the number one priority. Even if the one tip off or two tip off or three tip off being can go to the investigation. So not doing this, you will be always in the risk, or you always be stressed. And I understand nobody's 100% perfect, including me. But what I'm saying, we're not trying to achieve the perfection here. What we're trying to achieve a good level of compliance. Even in the audit, if they come and you find 70-80% you are okay, that's still fine. It's nothing gonna happen. It's still minor non-compliance you can figure out. But if we have other way around that every student answer is AI plagiarized, then imagine what's gonna happen. So let's put up a scenario. I want you to write yes or no. Let's say an RTO, ASQA got a tip off, 4 or 5 tip off about the assessment or whatever, and they're trying to see and investigating, and they come for a site visit and they check all the student has AI based answers because they're easily able to see it. Because how can a student write perfect wording, perfect with the comma, everything is okay? What do you think that's gonna happen to the RTO? I want you to write it. What do you think? Still waiting for the response. Yeah, I can see shut down, non-compliant assessment, sanction or cancellation, non-compliant. Great. Thank you, Ray. I think shut down, non-compliant. So yeah, you know all those things. So the number one is you got sanctioned. There's a lot of issues. There's a cancellation. You might need to retraining, reassessment, the amount of energy, effort, money, stress, all those things are there. So my goal is that if you want to only focus one thing, focus assessment. That's the number one area. I would do that one, and I would just advise the same thing. The system, and again, like I said, there is not a problem with the people. If you have the system, the people will follow. But what I'm seeing in the lots of audits and things, there is no system, or if they have a system, then there is no follow up. They say, oh yes, we have this policy, but nobody follow the policy. And that was one of the example in the ASQA session was it that there was 13 RTO, initial RTO, given exactly the same policy tool, everything. There's no contextualization, nothing. And when they call every single one, they say somebody say we bought it, somebody say we create it, somebody say we get it from someone else, and so on and on. So ASQA is tracking all those part anyway. So the system needs to be developed. So what I mean to a system is you have a pre-validation system that this is how we do it, this is how we need to do, and then you do a spot check. So maybe you can say every month or every quarterly or every end of term, I'll pick up 10-15% of assessment from different trainers and see how they're going. There is no internal monitoring. The problem only found when ASQA visit. So, and I see this in lots and lots RTO. And I understand that you don't have a time. There could be a different situation that you are in. But as I told you, if it's important, I would do this first and then do the other things later on. Okay, let's move to the next one. I think root cause. As I told you already, third-party tools are generic, built for everyone. Just double check it, make sure it's aligned with you. If it's not aligned, you contextualize. Tool never contextualize the same template used for every cohort every year. That's another thing I discuss. Tool cover the topic but does not reflect the assessment condition. If assessment conditions say you need to do this 3 times, you need to do in workplace, you need to do this way, that sometimes is missing. RTO does not allocate time or resources to properly check the tool. I see this is also one of the important thing. No pre-use review document. We discussed already. Validation finding recorded but never action. We did it, but we didn't improve it. So this is the root cause what I see. If you fix the tool first, the first battle is won. Because your tool, at least right now, you need to work on the evidence. But if your tool is not right, I can tell you your evidence is gonna be problem and the tool gonna be problem the same. Because it's not sufficient. Fit for purpose test. So you need to ask this: fit for purpose is the requirement in our standard 1.3. Does every task trace to the specific performance and knowledge requirement? Does the tool reflect the assessment condition in the unit? Is there any practical component where the unit requires? Has tool been contextualized for your cohort and industry? Is pre-use review documented on the file? If there's no document, you can't prove it. Real example, the RTO purchase resources for health-related qualification where the business unit was contextualized to the retail sector and creating a mismatch with intended industry context, resulting assessment not being fit for purpose. And we seeing this in many industries, especially the business unit, because that goes to across different industry. And what we see, it's technically not aligned or not contextualized. So if I'm an auditor and if I want to find out about the contextualization gap, I usually pick the business unit because I know that they usually don't contextualize. And if you have that one business unit across different stream within the same RTO, I will check both of them to see is that being contextualized or not. So that's something we need to be taken care of. Root cause number 2, which we discussed not clearly on what evidence require, quality and quantity. The RTO need to have a system that you need to train the trainer about all those things. Insufficient time to review and mark the work properly. I know that's a situation and I understand. I talk to all type of people. I talk to the owner, I talk to the managers, I talk to the directors, I talk to the trainer, I talk to admin people. They all write from their way. But I think you just need to sit together and find a sweet spot. Inconsistent judgment, same evidence, different outcome across different assessors. Generic feedback. Student does not know what to fix and why. We see them many times. No moderation. I think this is not required, but it's a good practice. Assessor never compare a judgment or discuss the borderline cases. Whenever that assessor do not know, maybe not, you guys should have a meeting. Oh, these are the things, maybe let me discuss with another assessor. Incomplete student work accepted as a competent or as a satisfactory. I see many times. I feel like that been rushed through because of the time. But that happens a lot when you review it. My question must be able to answer how much quality and quantity of evidence required for that particular unit. And that's why we need to give you a clear instruction. What does sufficient look like? Is there anywhere there? Is there a clear information? What is the minimum acceptable standard for competency? If another assessor marked this assessment, would they reach to the same decision? Can I explain and defend every competency decision if ASQA asks? Okay, so these are the things that you need to be mindful. Number 3, the system cause, the root cause, no spot check. Completed student assessment between the audit. So I think if we do the spot check, yes, because as I told you, nobody is perfect, no trainer is perfect. But if you do the spot check, you identify. And you identify in advance, not in the audit. And then if you identify, you can work towards it and fix it. No monitoring of marking activity, problem invisible until the ASQA visit, as I said. No calibration session, assessor never compare or align decision. No early warning system, gaps only discovered at the rectification stage. Third party tool trusted blindly, never verified against updated training package or any of those things. Even though we third party, I always say never trust anyone. This is your responsibility. Just double check. And like I told you, identify the one who is actually more suitable to your cohort and your need, and then utilize them. And work with the third party that actually want to hear your feedback. If there is a non-compliance, if they identify, they're able to work with you to fix it. No schedule internal audit of assessment. So these are the system issue that we are seeing. What strong internal system look like? Again, it's a spot check completed every term. Marking calibration session is required. If required, they discuss about it. Trainer observation, at least one assessment activity reviewed per term. Schedule internal audit, quarterly, 6-month audit, just to check that how we're doing the assessment. This is the most important area. I need to make sure that I'm doing the right thing. Validation schedule, every product map, dated, assigned, so whatever the validation schedule, we do it on time. Continuous improvement, every finding log, action, and close, and keeping all the evidence. Compliance manager run a quarterly spot check for 15 file across 3 units, find and one assessor constantly accepting insufficient workplace evidence, fix before the visit, next performance assessment, no assessment finding. So when you do the spot check, you thinking that it's actually an extra workload. What I see is actually it's a less workload. So I'll give you an example. If I'm doing a spot check every month, I find a problem in a month 1. And I ask them to trainer to fix it. And from next month, the problem is solved or at least getting better. But I didn't check for the one whole year. And in the end of the year, I find out the problem. What is the amount of issue would be higher toward end of the year compared to the 1 month. So if you're doing a spot check, it's actually saving you a lot more time, energy, and effort. And you're able to find out where the gap is. You can train the trainer, you can train the relevant people. Oh yeah, we don't do this, why you need to work out this way, or you identify the situation. If you do this part, it will help you to manage the assessment. Like I said, nobody is perfect. Everyone makes mistakes. Your trainer makes mistakes as well. But when you check them and correct them, it's more likely that you're going to have a smooth ride later on. So I hope you get that point. The new challenge, the AI has made authenticity harder. The AI threat, there's no acceptable level of plagiarism in the student assessment. So that's something is ASQA focusing on and preparing and building system, and expect RTO to have the system in place. Academic cheating is top ASQA priority. So as you know, if regulator already put them as a priority for RTO, it's automatically become the priority anyway. Because if we don't make that as a priority, then we can have a difficult time. AI generated answer, polished structure, but student cannot explain them. So these are the thread that we're seeing. No authenticity declaration in the tool. Assessor accept the work because it looks complete, not because it's genuine. And it's not only the ASQA identified, I can personally see in the RTO as well. Fix verbal or Viva checks on the high risk tasks. Maybe you can do verbal check, or there is the Viva check means you can get the verbal recording or something like that, that you verifying that whatever information being student added, it's actually, they know, they have a knowledge of it. Use AI detection tool, such as Turnitin, Grammarly, Copyleaks, GPT-0, depend on the situation. Turnitin, if you're using LMS, you can integrate with the LMS. And that's what ASQA wants to see. What system you have to identify AI generated answer or academic cheating or integrity related. And then your RTO should have the system in place. Student authenticity in every tool. Require draft process note or screen capture. So if you're having LMS or anything, there are some LMS give you the screen capture or snapshot of the face while you're working, just to demonstrate the authenticity. Train assessor to identify the mismatch between written sophistication and demonstrate ability. Again, you need to train the trainer about that and set up the system that, okay, what if this happened, what we need to do and how we need to fix it. So I hope you get the idea. If we get the sufficient response about this, we can have another full session on this with the documentation, free resources, which can help you to integrate this. So if you really want it, if it maybe just put that, okay, AI yes or something, we get the idea how many people interested here. Or maybe we can quick survey after that. What happened when ASQA find this? The rectification, they usually give 20 working days. 26 RTO enter into agreement to rectify in 24-25. 42 condition impose of the registration. That was happening in 24-25. That's the data we have. We don't have a data for 25-26 yet. 34 suspension. Almost 7 RTO cancelled still so far. RTO name publicly listed and statement of regulatory action been taken. 42,000 plus qualification cancelled and student lose the credential. And student need to redo that again. And I was reading to the ASQA QI today. If you get any student whose qualification been cancelled, you should not give them a credit transfer. They need to do it again. You need to notify the student and they actually need to do the unit again, even though it's showing in the USI. Because the ASQA is saying that USI update process takes time. So if the certificate has been canceled, it will go out from the USI as well after some time. And as an RTO, you need to have a process of credit transfer, that you should not accept the qualification from the RTO that been closed and qualification been canceled. If you go to ASQA website, you're able to see what RTO registration has been canceled and what are the duration of that qualification being canceled as well. So for example, RTO ABC from July 2023 till now, all the certificate is canceled. So if you see this, you need to verify. You need to inform the students and do that way. And yes, agreed, Davis, that USI is taking months to do it. So don't rely on and say, oh, if USI has it, it's fine. What ASQA is saying in the newsletter is USI will update it. If they have canceled it, it will update in the USI later on. So make sure you check in the process in your RTO. Live poll, let's have a quick poll. What is the biggest gap right now? Which root cause is your biggest risk? I want you to type quickly. I don't have a lot of time. Maybe I'm just running. Already took 60 minutes. So I need to run a little bit faster. Where's the poll? Okay, got it. Okay, let's see any update. Okay, got it. 1624. 32 people respond, 39. 42. Okay, currently root cause 2 is leading the chart. 35%. 37. The second one, all three. I can see some people typing ABC as well. Great. The main thing is the trainer root cause number 2 and all three. Like I said, what is the main thing is we identified. If we identify the problem, we can work towards it. So the main thing that the people who voted, now you guys know where is the problem. You know, how good is that? I know the direction where I need to go. And now I need to work towards improvement. So thank you all of you to provide this information. Let's fix it now. So root cause number 1, map every task to unit requirement before use. Ask yourself a question. In my RTO, do I have anyone who has a good knowledge and skill who can actually validate? Don't give this task to a trainer or someone who doesn't know about it in detail. Identify that person in your RTO. If you do not have it, engage someone. But if you don't have a right person to validate it, they will validate it incorrectly. And that's what happens all the time. Ask this question: who can validate properly? And then you work with that person. Maybe sometime put 2 people at least 2 or 3. So then you actually can brainstorm the question and say, nah, maybe this doesn't look right, or then you check with the other person. If you fix your tool first, 50% problem solved. I will tell all my client, everyone, do this first step properly. This is the right step. If you don't do this right, I can guarantee it's a complete, I can guarantee you're going to get non-compliance, because this is a starting point. Even if your student assessment, student evidence is perfect, even your assessor is marking, but if tool has a gap, what are you going to do? So invest time, energy, effort here. If you fix this, 50% problem solved. Contextualize the cohort, mode, and industry. Understand your cohort and based on said, okay, where I need to update. And you keep those documentation. Validate every training product minimum if you can, but it's not pre-validation I'm talking about here more. And then action all the finding in the continuous improvement register. Root cause number 2, written evidence benchmarking guide for every unit. Make sure you give clarity to trainer. When the trainer read the assessment benchmarking information, they are very clear what competent person look like. And if you exactly know what competent person look like and clear instruction, clarity is power. Give the clarity to your trainer, and then trainer will do the right job. You can at least do some moderation. This helps you to bring the clarity and consistency across different assessor. Allocate dedicated marking time. Give them some time for marking. I understand that's something you need to balance, but balance it. Specific feedback linked to each criteria, or give the detailed feedback, especially in the observation task, which Aman going to discuss in more detail about this. Verbal check. If you find that authenticity is a concern, ask them the question and retain or record that part. Trainer manual. So that's a good news for you. We have created a trainer manual as part of the free resources, where we're going to give that manual, which give the clear roles, responsibility, what are the marking standard, how we need to provide feedback, how you need to mark the observation checklist. We have created on an average 15-20 page of booklet for you, so you can go through that. this is a starting point. You can add more information as according to your RTO, but this could be a good starting point. Root cause 3, the system. Again, I said spot check every term if you can. This will help you a lot. Internal assessment audit. Do not wait for ASQA. Quarterly marking calibration session. Log action and close every finding in continuous improvement register. That's what ASQA wants to see. ASQA not saying that you will be 100% compliant at all the time, but are you improving? Are you getting better? Verify third-party tool update when training package change. Make sure you check the third-party tool. Free resources. So we're going to give you a free pre-validation tool that we will get with the attachment. We can also give you a free sample. You can request through it after end of the session. Neha will cover that part just to check if you want to check it out, how they're meeting the requirement and so. And there's a free trainer manual, which I was talking about. This will help you. And this is something which we're giving it to our client, because if there is no guidance and no system, every trainer will follow the way they want. But if you give them the training, if you give them the guidance, if you give them the document, the most of the trainer will follow that. And we would love to have the feedback on the document. If something which you think that could be added or improved, we would love to hear that as well. And we constantly improve, because like I said, no one is perfect, including us. We always believe in continuous improvement. So that's it for me. I have taken a little bit longer time, so my apologies, Aman and my team. Like I said, I can't emphasize more. If you have very limited time, can do only one thing: fix your assessment system. Because that one action protect your RTO, your reputation, and every student who trust with you for their future. So thank you so much. I'll pass it over to Aman. And just want to say thank you, all of you, for your time and assist. Very grateful.
Thank you, Ben. A minute, I'll just share my screen. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Yes.
Before starting, I would like to say thank you to Ben for giving a very insightful and he highlighted some of the key challenges that we are facing nowadays in our assessment practices. Before I dive in, I just want to give a quick introduction about myself. I'm Amandeep Kaur, a resource expert with over 10 years of experience in the vet sector. I have developed and validated assessment tools across more than 1,200 units with a strong focus on compliance and quality. I also work closely with RTOs during audits, helping identify gaps, strengthen assessment practices, and support RTO in meeting assessment requirements. That's all about me in a small nutshell. Now I will dive into my main topic. That's observation checklist and what we call tick and flick assessment practices. Before we go into the issue, let's quickly align on what observation checklists actually are. Observation checklists are simply tools that assessors use while watching a student perform a task. They include a list of skills or steps the student need to demonstrate, and the assessor records what they observe. So in simple terms, it's how we capture what we see the student do during a practical task. And this is really important because this is where we gather real evidence of competency, not just theory, not just written answer, but actual performance. Let's just start with the most common issue that we face in our observation evidence. That's the tick and flick marking. We see checklists filled out with ticks, but no real evidence have been provided behind them. It shows that the form is completed, but not that the student actually has performed the task. Then we have no assessor comments. So we don't know what the assessor saw, how the student performed, or how the decisions was made. And without that, there's no real assessor judgment recorded. And from an audit perspective, comments are not optional. They are what show that the assessor actually observed the student and made judgments. Another big one is the identical feedback across different trainers' answers. This is usually mean what the trainer does is they use the same comment and they copy paste across different student files. In many cases, there are no detail about what was observed, when it happened, or under what condition. So the assessment lacks context completely. And sometimes what the trainers normally do is they just sign off and it's only the tick and flick. So the checklist just becomes just a paperwork, something someone needs to complete rather than something that actually proves competency. And this directly leads to compliance issue because it impacts the validity, reliability, sufficiency, and authenticity of evidence. And that's exactly how RTO end up with audit findings under Standard 1.4. Now I'm curious to hear from you. Which of these issues have you seen in your RTO? Tick and flick marking, no comments, copy paste feedback, or all of the above? All right, it's interesting. This tells us that there is not only one isolated issue which is behind this. All of these is nowadays, if you see all the observation checklists, these are very common issues which we are finding it out. I'll make this more simpler in a way. For example, first I'll show you one real example. If you see this checklist, what you can see is uh, the trainer has only did yes and no, and there are just a small comment which says a good work. What mostly trainer do is they use this practice, but this is not clearly saying what the student has done, how well they did it, or if they needed any support. So while it looks complete, it doesn't actually prove anything. And from an audit perspective, this type of evidence is just considered weak, and this is just a completing of a paperwork. So why does this keep happening? It usually comes down to a combination of factors. First, it's a trainer capability. Not all assessors are confident in how to document observation evidence properly. Then, lack of clear guidance, no marking guides, no benchmark, no examples, so everyone does it differently. Time pressure is another big factor. When things are rushed, documentation becomes very basic. In some cases, there are no proper checks in place, so poor practices continue without being picked up. Sometimes the issue is the tool itself. It's just a tick boxes with no space for comments that exactly how it will be used. And finally, the mindset. When assessment is treated just as a task to finish, the focus shifts to completion instead of quality. Just to be clear, if observation evidence is weak, auditors don't partially accept it. They treat it as an inefficient, which can impact the entire unit outcome. How can we fix the observation checklist marking? Start by clearly defining what competent performance looks like. Make comments a requirement, not optional. Every checklist should show what was observed and how the student performed. Ensure feedback is specific to each student, no generic or repeated comments. Improve your tools, add structured comments, sections, and prompt. Support your trainers with examples and clear expectation. And finally, monitor the process. Do regular spot checks, reject poor quality evidence, and track improvements. Before we finish, just reflect on your RTO. If an auditor picked up your observation checklist today, would they clearly understand what the student did, or would they just see ticks? That's the difference between compliance risk and audit ready evidence. So just to wrap up, assessment is not just about completing a checklist. It's about demonstrating what competency was actually observed and assessed. Because at the end of day, ASQA is not just assessing your students, they are assessing your evidence of assessment. And if your observation checklist cannot clearly tell the story of what happened, then from an audit perspective, it simply doesn't exist. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Amandeep, and thank you so much, Ben, for all your insights. Now we can dive into the questions. And just in case if you haven't jotted down your questions during the session, you can jot them down now, and we can go through as many questions today as possible. I know so much time has left. We do not have much time to cover all the questions that is here with me, but what we can do is we normally make videos about the question that we don't cover. So if you are not following us on LinkedIn, Instagram, or Facebook, I would say do so, because and the YouTube as well, because we put so many videos every now and then regarding, and then we make sure that these questions are covered there. So make sure that you keep an eye for our videos, and then make sure that you get your answers, that's for sure. And now let's dive into the questions. I'll try and pick as many as I can. So the one interesting question that I received here, and it says academic TM, not sure who exactly wrote it, but she's asking is, or she or he is asking, that do the training hours in TAS include marking time, and is the marking considered part of the total allocated training hours?
Yeah. Okay. Great question.
Did it make sense? Or do you want me to repeat the question?
Yeah. Able to hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Great. Good question. In the training and assessment hours that you're mentioning, usually what you see in the training and assessment strategy is the training hours. In the training, you need to do a theory training, a practical training. In the assessment, you do the theory assessment, practical assessment, and the workplace. They usually do not have any marking time or anything been mentioned within that time, so that shouldn't be there. It's not included. This usually, that doesn't mean, let's say I'm doing a practical task where I need to observe the student in the simulation environment, that actually happen within that time anyway, because otherwise I will not able to observe when the student go home. So it depends on your strategy. If your strategy says that the student going to, is there a practical task that need to be observed by the trainer, that will be included in that. But if you have a theory assessment where students do it in their own time, then it will be outside that. So again, it's go back to your strategy, see what they're saying, but usually the practical is included, and theory is usually they don't mark within that time frame. So I hope I'm able to answer that question.
Yes, perfect. Thank you, Ben. And there's another question. We'll move quickly, as just because I'm trying to cover as many as we can during the short amount of time. So another question that came from Neha that says, what is the benchmark or interpretation for appropriate use of AI in assessment and learning activities?
Yeah.
So what is the
question? We need to do a whole big session on detail, but I'll give you a bit of a rundown. Is where I was also been discussing within the ASQA session as well. When they've been utilized for improving, like a grammar fix, this, that, all this part is okay. What ASQA is considered the integrity. They want to know that student has the knowledge and skill. That's where the problem is, and where and how to use AI. There are the categories that RTO need to establish, and you need to train the student and the trainer as well. That some of the thing internally can be used by a trainer, said, okay, creating an additional handout or activity by using AI. That can be done. And like I said, every RTO is different. They need to set their own standard, but that can be utilized. But if the trainer put the student answer in ChatGPT and say, mark this for me, that's probably not the right thing to do. So what we're gonna do, we will in the few coming months, we will have a separate session. What is acceptable level? What is not acceptable level? What is the framework? How to notify the trainer? How to notify the student? And how to set up the whole system across that AI side.
Let's move on to another one. One more question that says, can student use tools like Google Notebook LM with the training resources provided to help them complete the written assessments?
Can you repeat the question for me, please?
Can the student use tools like Notebook LM with the training resources provided to help them complete the written assessment? Because I think this was asked when we were doing like student are using the AI in completing the assessment.
I don't know the Notebook LM tool, but any tool that you use, the student get the answer and not able to demonstrate their knowledge and skill. So again, what is the core principle here is, do the student have a knowledge and skill? Let's say whatever question answer they write, if you ask them, do they able to give you some sort of idea what does that mean? Do they have a knowledge? Then that is okay. If they just typing in any app and say write file tool here and then they copy paste and they doesn't have any knowledge, then that's the problem.
So just to add on to that, Notebook LM does two things. One, it makes presentations for you, and the second, it generates content for you. So if you are making your own content and utilizing it for PowerPoint presentations, it's good to use. But if you are generating content through it, I don't think ASQA would allow the same as Ben mentioned.
Yep, that's what I meant. Good, thank you, Apit.
Thanks, Ben.
Thank you. And there's also one question for Amandeep as well. Basically, they are asking, can you share a good example of completed observation sheet?
Sure. After the session, we will send you one of the free sample, like a completed observation checklist, how the comments should look like, how it should be marked. So we will share some free sample with you.
Perfect. Thank you, Amandeep. Because so many people are interested.
I would like to add here is, we will share the sample, but I'll give you a core principle that we use. Just make your life very easy and simple. Observation checklist is majority of RTO. The trainer observation is the primary evidence because we don't take video, we don't do all those part. So the trainer observation is the primary evidence that you have. And if there is a tick and flick, ASQA say, that means you haven't done it properly. And this is happening in every single audit. So to come up with the answer, what you need to ask always that if two people do the same task, they're both gonna do slightly different. And what you need to write, the ideal way, what I advise to my client and people, make it more personal. So I'm not sure that who that person is who ask a question. Let's say, for example, James. Oh, James did this really well. And James, when he was lifting the boxes, the back was straight, this, da, 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 da. And then if there anything that not done properly, I'll explain that. So if you write it that way, it actually make more sense and much more personal. And that's what the regulator wants to see that. And if you do that way, you will have a less problem. And Aman we will share you one sample of the detailed feedback as well.
So far, we have only 5 minutes left. So maybe we can try one more question, or if you one of you wanted to speak to Ben or Amandeep, you can just raise your hand. We can unmute you and you can quickly ask your question. I know just 5 minutes. We can squeeze any questions in. There are more.
I see during my session there was a few hand raised. So maybe now it's the time to ask if you any question.
Yes, please. And there's just one new question just came in now. It says, should foundation skill mapping be done with assessment prepared in mapping document for unit which mention foundation skill essential to performance are explicit in the performance criteria of this unit of competency in TGA? Oh my God, that's a long explanation that is from the TGA. Basically, I can see that.
Yeah,
but would you be able to? Yeah.
I can read the question. So that's the situation, Riba, is that in the training package, when they design it, they actually include the foundation skill within it. So when you're designing the tool, if you're meeting the training package or training requirement, in a way you're meeting the foundation skills requirement as well. So I hope I'm able to answer your question.
Perfect. Maybe do you want me to take one more question? Because it was initially mentioned earlier, like how do we decide it is enough time to mark? I think that was the valid question as well
Yeah, good
from the
question.
assessment. Yeah.
It's a very open question as well. It's depend on the assessor as well, and assessor capability and experience. So I'll give you an example. If assessor has 5 years of experience, assessor works with your RTO and know the tool for more than 10 months or 12 months, they are very likely to mark like quicker than the someone who joined recently or someone who is a new trainer. So it's very based on person to person, and that's why you guys need to sit and within your trainer and assessor team define some framework and go from there, because there is no one size fit all, but also depend on the assessment as well. So I'll give you, I was talking to a lot of trainer about this as well. Let's say I was talking about the Cert 3 carpentry course, and there was one unit. The 40-50% was multiple choice auto marking. So that marking by LMS, so trainer not need to worry about it, or assessor. The remaining, there was 8 to 10 question, around 15 to 100 words. So there was a few experienced trainer, few need trainer, which discuss about, okay, how long do you think it takes to mark 10? And then the experienced trainer should have a different thing, and the new trainer should have, and that's how you define and calibrate across that. So I'm hopefully, am I able to answer the question?
Right. Mahi, there's this very interesting question that have come up. I would like Neha to answer this one if possible. Neha, so academic TM, I don't know what the name is asking who is eligible to validate assessment tools, and is an external validator required, or is it internal staff sufficient, or both required? Neha, would you please answer to that? Do we need
I can answer
external
that question,
validators?
but Aman would be the best person. She's having an experience of validation from years. She would guide you as per the new RTO standards as well. What is the basic expectations from the RTO? So Aman, probably you are the expert in answering that question.
So basically with validating the assessment tools, and is an external validator required in the, so it's like a panel. So basically if we are talking about the validation panel, so we can there is a bit qualification requirement. So one of the person from the team, they should have a TA requirement, they should have industry experience. So one person should be that, and the other person can be the external validator. So it's not, so even within the organization, you can have your own validation team. But even if you can welcome someone from the outside who can give industry perspective, but the one main thing is like whoever is validating that assessment, they should not be the one who has developed it or who has marked it. So there should be some another person who should be the final decision maker for that. So Ben, if you want to add something to that.
I would add this is, if you talk about the pure validation, which is standard 1.5.
Yeah.
If you don't deliver the TAE training product, it's not a mandatory requirement. You need to have external person. You can do internally. If your internal team is not capable, then you can involve external people. So, but it's not mandatory except you have a TAE package in your scope. So hope I'm able to answer the question, academic TM.
Yeah, perfect. And I think they have raised their hand as well. If we could mute them, and if you can, and we would love to see the face as well. So please turn on your camera. We can unmute you and you can ask your question.
We can see that. Hello. Can you unmute? It's still mute.
You can
I think
unmute yourself.
you can do that. Yeah.
We have.
You can unmute yourself.
You can just unmute yourself. Right.
Yeah.
I think, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Hi, hello everybody. How are you guys?
I want to know your name.
Know your name, yes.
This is Morshid here. Nice to see all you guys. Okay. Just one more question. Like, for example, if we finish 1 year pre-validation cycle for one course, do we need to repeat it again next year?
Can you repeat again? Sorry, I missed the first bit.
Okay. If we finish one full year cycle for pre-validation, Do we need to repeat it again the next year?
Great question. Great question. So according to the standard, if you do full package, the validation, pre-validation, and if there is no changes in the tool or nothing, then you don't need to do it. That's only for the first cohort. There's no changes in the cohort, no changes in the tool, then you don't need to do it.
Perfect.
So in a prospective, I'll give you example as well. Let's say you have a certificate 3 in carpentry, you have 27 unit, you have pre-validated all of them, and there is no changes in the cohort, there's no changes in the tool, nothing, you don't need to redo it. Answer the question?
Yeah, great. Thank you. Thanks, Ben.
$1,000.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Murshid, for the question. And we do encourage you all to ask more questions. Like we would love to sit when Ben says I wanted to make it interactive. We do want to chat with all of you. So maybe next time raise more hands. We would love to see your faces. We would love to interact with all of you. And with that, because we are already going over the time, so I need to end it here. So thank you so much once again. Thank you so much for all of you who has asked questions. Thank you so much for everybody who has joined the session. And thanks Ben, thanks Aman. You guys were amazing today. We have learned a lot from you too. And thank you entire Vet Resources team and Vet Advisory Group team. Thank you, and you have a good weekend. Have fun, and we'll see you on next month.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you,
Thank you
everyone.
all. Thank you, team. See you.
Thanks.
Hopefully, we added value to you and your team.
100%. Thank you.